That was the first time I got crabs.
But not the last.
Not the last.
Welcome back from our abbreviated hiatus. We have been gone for a minute. Eric was training in St. Louis for his new job, which is super
working
awesome.
from home, baby. Working from
go.
home. Double guns.
So now that we're all remote boys, welcome back to another edition of Chocobo Chasers. It's awesome to have the group back. We want to say, again, a huge thank you to Jonathan Brousseau for joining us on our last episode. We're going to be talking about Eternal Strands, and we're going to be talking about a lot of games that have been shown over the last, basically, like 2 weeks or so, recapping everything from Summer Games Fest, Xbox Showcase. We had a Nintendo Direct literally today, so the timing is kind of perfect. And also there might be a big famous game that's launching a huge DLC this weekend that we'll be talking about a little bit as well. So without further ado, let's kick it off as we normally go ahead and do. I'm actually going to go ahead and kick us off. What are you playing? I have a lot of new entries to talk about. So Kingdom Hearts, obviously not a new entry, but I did do all of the synthesizing for the very first time, got the Ultima weapon. I whipped Ansem's ass so hard, beat Sephiroth, beat all the secret bosses, basically got everything done. I only have 3 trophies left. I have to complete a Proud Run. I have to complete the game without getting a continue, and I have to complete the game without changing my equipment. So I can do 2 of those things, and I have to do a speed run. Yep. So I think I could do a few of those things. I could probably do 3 of them together. So we'll have to see kind of how things end up going, but we're pretty close. In addition to those, I have played a game that I wasn't really expecting to become kind of a comfort game over the last few weeks, MLB The Show. I'm a baseball guy. We talked about it a little bit before the show. And I will say that their my player progression system is better than every other sports game. Theirs is called Road to the Show. Yep. You start off in the minor leagues. It's great. Honestly, MLB The Show is maybe the gold standard of sports games. I have had an absolute blast playing those. So yeah, big hearty recommend. I played a little bit of Metal Gear Solid 4. Probably not enough to really comment on it. I really want to get into it more, but it's just been a little crazy over the last few weeks. So in addition to those, I did go ahead and play a little bit more of Helldivers, which I was my first time kind of diving in a little while. So it was good to see. The game has gotten a lot harder. And that was...
I could have sworn I saw that they actually did a bunch of, I guess, buffs / nerfs against enemies.
I have not played in a while, so They may have from what it was at before, but man, it was much harder than the most recent time I played. In addition, I started a new playthrough of Elden Ring in commemoration of Shadow of the Erdtree launching this week, and man, this game is so hard. I have not played a FromSoft game in a minute, and I beat Godric last night, so I'm making some pretty decent progress. Also, with the launch trailer of Astrobot coming, I decided to go ahead and platinum Astro's Playroom, which is just a great little platformer. If you own a PS5, it literally comes with the console. Play it. It's a lot of fun. But I think those are kind of the main things. I did pick up a few new games, but I haven't started them. I picked up Still Wakes the Deep. I decided to actually purchase it. There was a discount for PlayStation Plus members. And from everything I've read about the game, it literally is exactly what I want. I think I'm going to like it quite a bit.
Installed on my computer right now.
Yeah, so I'm going to start it tonight. I'm really excited to play it. But I got that. I actually also picked up the Onimusha Warlords remaster for PS4. It was on sale for $8. Couldn't really turn it down. So that's about it for me, though. Dash, what about you, man? What you been playing?
Let's start with Kingdom Hearts 1. I did my full run through of doing 100% everything. I'm not going to do those other trophy runs like you mentioned because I don't have the patience for that. But, did everything but the gummy ship missions because I don't think they can't contribute to anything anyways.
They don't. Nope.
So not dealing with the headache that some of those were. And played Chain of Memories for about an hour before deciding I don't want to do this anymore. went to Kingdom Hearts 2 instead. If you like Chain of Memories, props to you, but it's not for me. And
I like the story of Chain of
Yes.
Memories a lot, but
like, especially now that we have Kingdom Hearts fully released on Steam. For any newcomers to Kingdom Hearts out there, give it a shot. If you don't like it, at least watch all the cutscenes on YouTube.
yes,
I kind of wish that they did 358 over 2 days as the playable game for the 1.5 collection over
Yeah.
Chain of Memories, but it is what it is, because that actually was a pretty fun game for the DS. But anyways, moving on to Kingdom Hearts 2. Not too far in it, I guess. I just reached Port Royale, essentially.
okay.
So, I mean, you only spend like an hour at each world. Everything goes so much more smoothly than what Kingdom Hearts 1 would have been, because it's just a giant arrow pointing you where you need to go next every time. But, I mean, obviously, there's all the quality of life and gameplay improvements when you play Kingdom Hearts 2 over Kingdom Hearts 1, but you lose out on that sense of adventure and exploration that you used to have with Kingdom Hearts, which, of course, we've talked about that level design.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. Did a little bit of Dynasty Warriors 5. I decided to move on from Dynasty Warriors Empires, especially because now I'm hyped for Dynasty Wars Origins. That was shown at the PlayStation Showcase like 2 weeks ago. So not too much there. Just 5. There's like going through the Musho modes for each one of the characters. I've only done like 2, so haven't spent too much time on it. A lot of my time's been going into Diablo 4. So,
New season. That's right.
yes, this is actually the highest level character I've ever had on Diablo 4 so far. I think my highest before that was like 66, so I'm at 75 right now. I think I reached World Tier 4 for the first time. I'm not sure if I did it with my 66 character. That was like back during Season 1, though. So, so my experience with World Tier 4, at least with the way they've optimized gear and everything, it's just so much easier to like steamroll stuff that's 12 levels higher than you. So I'm still just doing I think I did a level 30 nightmare dungeon before jumping onto this call.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Just trying to get all the ancestral gear I need and then affix it with whatever, which I really do enjoy the way they do the affixing. It's like a completely different game, and now we have Diablo 4 expansion pack coming soon. So that's what, October?
I think so.
Yeah, so I imagine we're going to have a whole new class called the Spirit Caller, I think it was. And I was expecting maybe something like the Paladin to make a return or something. So it's going to be interesting seeing a brand new original class for that. And if it's like any of the other previous expansions for the Diablo games, it's going to revamp the game, hopefully, and really change things up. So I'm really interested to see how Diablo 4 evolves once that's at release. And let's see, final game that I've spent some time playing and actually did a full run through is Tales of Renzara Zao.
Oh, Tales of Kinzera Zao. Yes.
Yeah. So actually, that was a really that was a really fun game. I'm not really a platformer Metrovania type player usually, so it's just a 2.5D game. So you have these beautiful 3D environments, but you're only going around on a 2D plane as you go around them. It's actually a pretty good highlight for an indie game, because it is the first game to be developed by Surgent Studios, which was founded by Abu Baker. I'm sorry if I mispronounce this.
Abu al-Baghdadi.
Abu Bakr Salim. I'm hoping I did not mispronounce that.
Don't cry, Abu.
But he's actually just made an appearance in House of the Dragon,
which is awesome.
Alan of Hall. But he also is the voice actor for Bayek in Assassin's Creed Origins. So he's actually created his own game studios, and this is the first game to come out from it. And he voices the main character, Zhao, and also I guess just to not go into anything too spoiler heavy, you're basically playing as a character that's reading the story written by his father who recently passed away. So that there's a big theme behind the game about, accepting loss of loved ones. And it's a story I could really relate to personally, obviously, because I've lost my own father. But it was about an 8-hour experience to fully beat the game. I didn't get all the collectibles or power-ups for it, but
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure I could go back and do that anytime I need to. And it was a really fun experience. The final boss essentially just makes you apply everything you've learned throughout the entire game as you fight him. There's some really cool ways of getting traversals, like you'll unlock an ability to freeze rivers and waterfalls, which you can just use to wall jump off of. But there's not really anything groundbreaking, obviously, in this for the genre, but it's a really good experience. It's available on, I think, Game Pass and PlayStation Plus, so if you don't want to buy it, you can at least play it via that way. So definitely worth checking out, and I think that wraps up everything I've done for the week, or 2 weeks.
Yeah. So it's Abubakar Salim.
Okay, Abubakar Salim.
So, Eric, what about you? Obviously, you've been traveling a bit, so gaming has been a little bit lighter lately, man.
Little lighter, but I did get some stuff in. I got some new stuff in. I finally got bored with single player Tarkov, so I uninstalled it. I'll install it at a later date. But a buddy of mine bought me Ghost Recon Breakpoint when it was on sale. And surprisingly, man, I haven't played a Ghost Recon game since Advanced Warfighter.
Oh, wow.
2 for the 360, probably.
That takes me back.
Yeah.
So Advanced Warfighter 1 and 2 were fun. I still love the OG Ghost Recon, where you could have 3 teams. You could have 3 in Team Alpha, Bravo, 2 of them, and then 1 sniper. I used to do that all the time, man. I played the shit out of that game when I was a kid. But so it's actually a lot of fun. You can do a lot of customization options. And I'm not super far into it. The story's pretty, it's interesting enough, but it's fun just kind of sneaking around, sniping people. And just playing that third person kind of thing. And so I didn't get too much into it, so it's pretty fun. Played some more Valorant with the boys. I'm actually silver 2 in rankings. Highest I've ever been. We went on what we call a winning streak, as they say in the big leagues. It has happened before. And so we've had a lot of fun doing that. I went out of town after that and came back. The boys came out, so I watched the boys when I got home from traveling. So I did that Friday. And then obviously through all the Summer Game Fest announcements, we had a little bit of announcements for Starfield. So they opened up the creation kit. So I wanted to see what some of the mods were about. And honestly, it's probably the most fun I've had since those first 3 days playing. I played it for those first couple weeks a good bit, and it got kind of stagnant. And this is probably the most fun I've had playing, just testing about different mods. There's all kinds of different people who have modded in different ship parts you can buy now. You can build ships differently. You can dress as a guy, just like a nomad. It's what the mod's called the Nomad, but you look like a character from Dune. Look like you're wearing a Dune spacesuit, still suit.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool. So I walked around just screaming Lisan Al Gaib for 20 minutes while I was jumping through space, going real slow. Lisan Al Gaib. And but no, so it's exciting to see where that goes. And
they need a Dune type planet for that game.
Oh yeah, there probably was one, but it was probably just empty. But
they need a giant worm variant, they added to No Man's Sky.
Yeah, well, hey, we'll have Dune Awakening soon because that was a Summer Games Fest game, and
which is something we're going to be talking about. Here
I don't even like survival craft games, but I'll check that out. But no, we can. That's pretty much all I've played. I haven't had a whole lot of time with the new game.
Oh yeah. Dash, and one thing I wanted, so if you like Tales of Kenzera, I would definitely recommend Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown if you haven't played it.
So that's the one thing I would say was missing from Tales of Kenzera, is that there was just no way of putting a point on your map to say come back here,
right?
Because I don't have the item or ability to get to this point yet.
Yeah.
But like I just have to like kind of memorize. It's like, oh yeah, I have to come back here, which is the way that genre's kind of always been. But
Yeah.
like that's why I really enjoyed when I saw the previews of the new Prince of Persia. It's like you can take a screenshot and say, yeah, I'll come back here.
Yeah.
This is a good reminder.
Would highly recommend, and it's on sale right now if you wanted to get it physically for PS5 for $16.99 on GameFly. So just get a nice little deal. So let's dive into Summer Game Fest because we're going to talk about all three. And obviously there is a shit ton of games that got announced. So we're not going to be able to cover every single thing. But we do want to go ahead and touch on maybe some of the more major announcements and some of the stuff that we really like to see. Obviously, something that's been kind of rolled out in the ether a little bit and wasn't necessarily confirmed, but everybody kind of knew about it was the Lego Horizon game. We officially know. It's cool to have other people be able to experience, and it's interesting that PlayStation is putting this on the Switch. It is a very Switchy game. Like, I could absolutely see this being very family-friendly. The Lego games are definitely kind of in that vein, and we're going to see that roll across PC, PS5, and Switch later this year. So it's kind of one of the worst-kept secrets in the gaming world. Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, which obviously a lot of people were wanting to get Quidditch available within Hogwarts Legacy, and this is actually going to be a completely separate game. I don't know if it's going to be free to play or what exactly is going to be going on with it, but it looks interesting enough. I have some things to say about it that I can't right now, but I'll be excited to share a little bit more later on. Star Wars Outlaws got a new trailer. We can see Lando is in the game, which is awesome. And really, it's Star Wars GTA. You don't really have to sell me on anything else. It looks great. I honestly can't wait. And being able to just play a new game in this universe that's not so
Jedi.
Skywalker like heavy. And the Jedi games do a great job of that too. Like they've created their own story and their own ethos that is fun to follow, that's separate. Even if Darth Vader, sorry if you haven't played the game, it's a few years old, does make an appearance. Like it's crafting its own way, and so I do like that. Black Myth Wukong finally got its release date, a game that has been shown for years, honestly. Dragon Ball Sparkling Zero gets an October release date. A lot of the things that were shown at Summer Game Fest are coming out in the second half of the year, which one is great because I did feel like the second half of the year was a little light in terms of like what we had on the release slate. I'm not going to dive into every single game that got announced. A few things I did want to highlight though. Blumhouse is getting into games. I love horror movies.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that they're getting into games and they are showing 6 games to start. Some of them looked creepy as fuck too. So I am super stoked. And then the other one I wanted to talk about, if you're a fan of like the old school TMNT, like Shredder's Revenge,
dude.
Power Rangers is getting its own version of that. And I am like, I will be there day one. I will be there no matter what. I cannot wait. Like, probably the game that I was most surprised to see came out of nowhere. Saban, you have my money.
Did you ever play the Power Rangers like Lightspeed Rescue game for the Nintendo 64?
I don't think so.
Oh, that was a great one. You had like basically you had 2 different types of missions. You just play as a ranger going around like a map to do some objectives and stuff, and then they had like a fighting game mode, essentially like first person fighting game where you play as like a Megazord against whatever monster and stuff. And as you got through the game, you could unlock like all the different Megazords, all the different monsters, and they had like a 1v1 fighting mode for that. It's kind of awesome.
Sick. Yeah, that sounds awesome. What about you guys? Was there anything that stuck out to you guys?
Cuff Bust. So it was like that weird, like you play as like some sort of alien, I guess, or teddy bear. It's from the developer of Choo Choo Charles, so it's like one guy made this game, I think, and you get to like beat cops to death with a spoon, I guess. He's like escape, but it looks like it'll be dumb fun, and that's the kind of game I always love. Metaphor looks awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, I love the new job system. It kind of gave me like a Final Fantasy Tactics kind of vibe to it, where I think like I think it has like the same kind of idea of job progression where you level up, like let's say the squire, and you unlock the knight job or something. At least that's the vibe I got. I'm not sure if they really went into details on how you do that. We finally got to see some more stuff about Slitterhead. So that's the one from what was it? The original director of like Silent Hill.
Correct.
So it looks a lot more action based than I thought it would be, but it doesn't look bad. It looks very unique in the idea that it seems like you don't play as a specific character, but you jump from like person to person.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, different people have different abilities and such, because it looks like, you have some people that fight with, swords, and others like have a blood Gatling gun. So really interesting. Those were the main ones that really jumped out at me from at least the Summer Game Fest one.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, we'll dive into the Xbox one right after this. Eric, what about you, man? What stuck out to you from Summer Game Fest?
I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty much like the Xbox showcase that took all the hype. From everything. Well, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 for sure.
Yeah,
they announced that. That looks good. I mean, look, we got some shots of Dune Awakening. I know we talked about that. Like, I don't care for like survival crafting. I've played Valheim. I enjoyed it. But like other ones have not really stuck with me. This is probably one I'm going to give a decent chance because I really like the Dune movies. I'm enjoying the book. I'm reading that, so I think I'm ready. And then we're getting Civilization 7 too.
Yeah. I'm wondering how they're gonna like evolve the formula, because every game they always have to do something unique, something special for the. It's never stagnant. That's the thing. So usually it ends up being very divisive every single time they change it. Also,
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, and then Valorant's going to Xbox. Isn't that fucking crazy?
And PS5. Yeah,
it's going to PS5 too.
Yeah, it's coming just to consoles.
I think it was full console. Yeah, except maybe Switch. That actually does it get Switch? Maybe. Yeah.
That's really cool, and that's going to be interesting to see if they have like crossover, like crossplay.
Crossplay, yeah.
I think it said cross progression, but I think
wrong. It is. Yeah, I think crossplay is going to be enabled. So it's going to be pretty wild. So. Well, let's move on. Obviously, and before we go ahead and move on to the Xbox Showcase, definitely want to highlight future game show as well. Yep. Obviously, we got another look at Eternal Strands. It looks awesome.
Oh man, it looks great.
I'm so stoked to be able to go ahead and play this. I didn't catch too much of the future game show. It's probably one I need to go back and watch. I had to watch the Xbox one like 2 to 3 times because I had a power outage and was dealing with a bunch of shit at that time. So, but let's talk about Xbox. This is probably the star of the summer so far. Because we got a little bit of everything in this one. So we got, obviously it kicked off with Black Ops 6, and then they did a whole kind of, dive in after the showcase. Kicked off with Doom: The Dark Ages, which got leaked like the day before. I hate that that's like such a prevalent part of media today, because seeing this as like a super surprise reveal would have been awesome. And the trailer, I don't think we were prepared for how awesome that trailer looked.
The trailer's fucking awesome.
Yeah. id Software just looks like they're knocking it out of the park. I like that we're getting a prequel too, and it just looks like complete and total mayhem. The return of the Doom guy is a welcome one. Dragon Age, this is probably one of the more divisive things that's been shown. Obviously, there's a few different parts to that. The art style, obviously, is one that's kind of been talked about quite a bit. But that's not the only thing. There's a few things that, from romancing, has been kind of a hot button topic. And obviously, we're coming fresh off of Baldur's Gate, which give you the freedom to really do like anything. And I think that there's a lot of influence you're going to see in upcoming games because of that. I'm excited. Give me more fucking BioWare games and I will play them. So
any kind of skepticism or doubt I had on the game was addressed with the gameplay, which, I mean, I'm one of the people that I adore Origins, and I wanted to return to that, but at the same time, a more action-based gameplay is going to be more accessible. It's going to open the game up for more people. But it sounds like they're going to have a lot more tactical stuff in Dragon Age Veilguard also. So it's not like it's just going to be a hack and slash, turn off your brain, plow through everything kind of shit.
Right.
So you're going to, still have to plan out your skills and what you're going to do. It's just, Dragon Age has always been this constant whiplash of changes as you go through it, because I can tell you, going from Dragon Age Origins to Dragon Age 2, you got the biggest set of whiplash in terms of gameplay and aesthetics, because the Darkspawn look completely different. The art style is completely different. You no longer have a dialogue tree. You have the dialogue wheel from Mass Effect, and of course that had its own level of controversy.
Right.
Dragon Age Inquisition was the compromise for. It was like the in-between of Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2. So you kind of pleased everybody, but now looks like we're not going to do the open world, which I guess at the same time, I'm kind of breathing a sigh of relief, because probably the most exhausting part of replaying Inquisition is the open world segments.
The hinterlands? The hinterlands?
Yes,
oh my god.
The hinterlands is exhausting, and the other areas aren't as bad once you get to the later areas, but the hinterlands is just a chore to get through. And if you want 100% everything, like I can run through the Mass Effect trilogy so many times and it's a breeze, because, you have those linear levels, who cares, that you can just, do the missions, grab the items, and do what you need to. We'll see exactly how this goes, because the gameplay they showed was early game, so we didn't really get to see the full on what the late game combat's gonna feel like. We only got a taste of it, but I know they've been cooking for a long time, and this is a story I want to continue to see,
and it's probably going to be maybe a sign of things to come. Obviously Mass Effect is in the pot right now, and a lot of these assets will probably be used in the making of that game, so it'll be interesting to see how they've evolved since Andromeda, and what the next iteration of BioWare looks like. So in addition to Dragon Age, Bethesda had a chance to kind of display some of it's mostly DLC related. Obviously Fallout 76, you're going to have the opportunity to play as Ghoul. Starfield
all the
DLC.
cosplays are going to start now.
Starfield DLC for Shattered Space. And obviously the creation kit, which Eric already talked about. We got a new WoW expansion. One game that got shown, which has gotten talked about more and more, is Expedition 33. Getting to see like a AAA turn-based RPG that, a lot of our turn-based RPGs, we're so used to, Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, and a lot of it is more of like, 2D, 8-bit, that kind of stuff. This is like fully fleshed out cinematic, 4K, like what we'd expect from a game coming out in 2024, 2025, but with that same old, turn-based feel.
And they've like managed to advance the like genre, honestly. It sounds like, too, because it's a reactive turn-based game where you're gonna be doing combos, you're gonna react to attacks to dodge or block, almost like Lost Odyssey. That one had, and maybe even this is kind of your spiritual successor to Legend of Dragoon. So
don't say that, some people are gonna get mad. So
no, I think a lot of people who liked Legend of Dragoon would be into Expedition 33, because it has the same concept too, where you time your attacks so that you can continue the combo, double slash kind of shit, but you can choose where you're aiming, you can aim for weak points. It just looks like it's proof that you don't have to make everything action based, and there is still a lot of juice to do with turn-based RPGs. It's nice to see that level of creativity with the genre.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously there's a ton of games. We're going to talk about some of the more like higher focus stuff, and if there's anything else that we're interested in, obviously we'll go ahead and we'll talk about those. But definitely take a look at the conference if you haven't seen it, because man, there was some
Mythology's back,
great
baby.
stuff.
Age of
Age of
Mythology's
Mythology
back.
retold.
Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go.
We got another look at Metal Gear Solid Delta,
Dude,
which looks
good.
so good. Also, they announced a huge collector's edition, which is it's awesome, but I also don't think I'm going to spend $200 on it.
Is it going to be one of those collector's editions where you don't even get it on release date kind of stuff? Because that seems to be happening a lot lately.
Honestly, very well may be a case. Perfect Dark, which has been a game that has been talked about and has apparently gone through some issues in its development. Man, they showed a lot for it. It got shown. There was gameplay. There was everything. It was left without a release date, which is kind of unfortunate. However, I mean, based on what we saw, I'd expect maybe next year, and maybe if not, maybe early 2026. But there was a lot shown, and it seems like a really cool, interesting world to explore. A game that I love, that I was so excited that got shown. New Life is Strange. Square Enix and Deck 9 made one of my favorite games in the original Life is Strange, and since we've had a prequel, and 2 sequels, so this would technically be Life is Strange 4. And I, with a returning character of Max Caulfield, I was so happy. Seriously, one of the games that I absolutely loved. I couldn't be more excited, to be honest. We got more Avowed, which was obviously one of the games that Eric is super stoked about. Brand new game from Obsidian. We got Stalker 2, which has obviously been in the works for quite a while. Man, and then Indiana Jones had a very extended trailer. It is a little odd seeing Troy Baker voice Indiana, and he's pretty close to Harrison Ford, but you can still recognize that it's Troy Baker. So that is a little weird. And to me, it is a little odd that they're doing both third and first person. It is a little weird.
Was there third person? I didn't even see that.
So there's third person when you're traversing stuff. And it's a little odd to me, but I mean, it's an interesting game, and it's Indiana Jones. I'll absolutely play it. And then obviously they ended the show off with probably the best announcement of the day. Gears of War, going back to its roots. We're going back to E-Day. So Gear 6 is really kind of Gear 0. Obviously, we've got Dom. We've got everything about the trailer looked great. It was a cinematic trailer, but
I thought it was game engine actually too. So
yes, that is absolutely correct. And no release date, but obviously we know Gears is kind of coming back to its roots. They mentioned after they provided some information as it relates to the game, the open world is gone, which I know was a big point of contention regarding Gears 5, and I think is Gears 4 also kind of open world?
Not really. Okay. No,
Gears 4 was linear.
Okay.
Yep.
So obviously straying away from everything, I think that Gears 5 is a very divisive title, and
I saw someone say that Gears 5 was peak on Twitter, and I had to control myself from engaging. So.
That's like someone saying Final Fantasy X-2 is the best Final Fantasy game.
It's not bad, but don't say it's the greatest.
Don't say it's the best. Yeah.
Different folks, different strokes, maybe kind of shit. So.
Yeah, get the
if it's your favorite, all the power to you.
Get out of here.
It's just you're wrong.
Yeah.
The multiplayer was pretty fun. it's not the same.
Yeah. So
it's gonna be. It's back.
Oh, it looks like we're going.
It's revitalizing. I'm gonna call it now. It's gonna revitalize the franchise.
Best multiplayer since Gear 3, let's say.
It's got to. I mean, if it doesn't, then it might be cooked. You're not going to see a Gear 6.
And one game we haven't talked about, which I am also incredibly, incredibly excited about, Fable. We got to look at actual gameplay. The game is coming out next year. And I will say this. This game looks like it has retained a lot of what made the original Fable great. From an atmospheric standpoint, I'm really, really excited to see kind of where things are going. I am curious if we're going to be able to create our own character, if we are playing as the girl that's been pictured kind of throughout all of the trailers so far. It's not going to affect me playing.
We're not one of those people.
No, yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna be an incel about this. Like, I'm gonna play the game. It's gonna be fun no matter what. So, but yeah, I thought it looked pretty great graphically. It looks insane. So definitely something to kind of keep an eye on.
Chicken chaser.
Yeah. Anything else from you guys that you were pretty stoked about for Xbox?
South of Midnight looks good.
Yep,
It does.
I was gonna say South Midnight.
And then
That was the one I wanted to see.
Yeah, Flintlock actually didn't look too bad. Different,
Yeah, I think
it's not
They
something
described it
I
as like an action Souls-like kind of thing.
Yeah, it might be something I check out
With guns.
I mean, look,
Yeah.
the benefit about this is a lot of the games we're mentioning are day one Game Pass.
Day one on Game Pass, which was,
Like-
I mean, and that's huge for a lot of these. Like,
Yeah.
Flintlock is like the one closest too. It's coming out in July.
Yeah, so that's pretty.
Yeah.
It's pretty clutch to be able to okay, I'm paying for Game Pass, and then I get
Which
all
now
this
we're getting
with it.
Black Ops 6 on
You're getting
Game
Black
Pass
Ops 6
also.
with it. And you're gonna
And-
get Doom with it. State of Decay 3 looks good. If they can expand, like I tried State of Decay 2, the multiplayer wasn't that fun. But if they can expand on that and make it good, then
I think the biggest problem with State of Decay is that its combat's always been a bit clunky for me,
yeah.
especially melee combat.
Oh, melee combat was quite different.
But I guess what really sold it on me was that it was kind of like the sandbox experience with a zombie world where you have to go out, rummage for materials to go and bring back to your base and upgrade it. And it's like if your character dies, you just play as a different person in your base.
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Stalker 2 is going to be great. I really need to get back and actually finish the first Stalker games.
Hell yeah. So, I mean, we talked about it. Xbox killed it with this conference.
Best show they've had in years.
Easily. And maybe the best show of the summer until today. Now it might be up for debate because
I'm still going to Xbox.
it depends on who you talk to. So, obviously, we're going to record today regardless, but it's super helpful that Nintendo also did their conference today. So, we got a lot today. Nintendo probably did the best of just like packing every bit of their conference with something meaningful today. So we got a brand new Legend of Zelda game, which they're going back to the Link's Awakening style, and you're playing as Zelda for the first time. So now when your mom says like, hey, are you playing as Zelda? You'll actually be like, yeah, I am. So Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and it's coming out in September. Like that's a really, really quick turnaround. Will be released on the Switch. Looks pretty incredible. We're getting a new Mario and Luigi Brothership game, which is coming to the Switch in November. Dragon Quest III HD, which has probably some of the coolest box art of any game I've seen in a very, very long time. It's coming November 14th. Donkey Kong Country. We've got a new Super Mario Party. And something that I'm not a huge fighting game fan. Like I played Soul Calibur is probably the one that I've played the most. But we're getting Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection with all of the arcade classics, bringing Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and The Punisher, all in one collection. Original songs and some like behind the scenes art, a lot of really cool stuff. And that's coming later in 2024. They didn't have a release date, but just honestly, really, really cool, impressive stuff. One game I did want to go ahead and highlight, the creator of Final Fantasy is making a brand new IP with Square. Or I believe it's with Square. Maybe not.
Yeah, it is a Square Enix game.
Yeah, and Nobuo Uematsu is doing the music. So literally the two kind of fathers of Final Fantasy are making a brand new game. And I really don't need to see anything else about it. The fact that they're working together is enough for me to say like, okay, I will probably play this game.
And surprisingly, it's coming to everything too. It's not just a Switch game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I was surprised the number of multi-plat games were shown at the Nintendo showcase.
Yeah, a lot. Obviously, they had their kind of big ones that they're fully committed to just on their platform, but there was actually quite a bit of multi-plat stuff. There was a new Lord of the Rings game where you play as hobbits, which I thought was kind of weird. But hey, I mean, let's create new experiences. Let's do a lot of new cool stuff.
It's like a Lord of the Rings Animal Crossing, essentially.
Yeah, so it looks pretty interesting. And obviously, ending the show with Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is quite the way to end the show. Obviously, a game people have been waiting for so long, and it's confirmed to come out in 2025, and it looks pretty good. So, Metroid is kind of an interesting game just because it's more of a mature audience, especially when Nintendo has focused on family titles. I feel like for the last forever, really. So to see them, obviously Metroid Dread was a pretty huge hit, from a critical and commercial perspective on the Switch, and so to see them continue that with Metroid Prime 4 is pretty awesome. Anything else stick out to you guys?
Mario and Luigi's back.
Yeah.
Man, that was like the Superstar Saga was one of my favorite games on the Game Boy Advance. Now I think that was the first one too. So I was always a sucker for turn-based RPG kind of games, and this one was Mario and Luigi, so it even made it even better.
Hell yeah!
Need to go back and actually play the other ones in that franchise, but this one looks pretty great. Unique style of combat because it has the whole thing where you can like dodge attacks or use your hammers to like boost attack power if you timed it right. Let's see what there's another one. Romancing Saga 2's getting an HD remake too, so that one looks really interesting. I've never actually gotten the chance to play Romancing Saga before, but I know it's like one of those like very choice-driven games where you can like branch out and do all sorts of things. So depending on your choices, you can have a completely different experience.
Hell yeah! And obviously, a lot of these games, kind of similar to the Xbox showcase, are all coming out relatively soon. At least most of them are. I'd say everything. I think almost everything at the Nintendo Direct got a release date, at least a release window. So that's pretty
Besides
awesome.
Metroid 4, I think everything else is this year.
Yeah. So awesome to see. Well, and the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 will be in 2025 as well.
Yeah.
But Dragon Quest 3 remake, because it's a trilogy.
I found it interesting that they're doing 3 first, but then...
So they're going to do it kind of similar to how Metal Gear Solid's doing it, because 3 takes place before the other 2 games. So I get it. So for the final portion of the show today, we're talking about... Obviously, Elden Ring is kind of looked at as the pinnacle of Soulsborne games. It's the first Soulsborne game to really like give you an open world and just say, go figure it out. Everything else was at least somewhat linear. So for them to obviously, Elden Ring was universally praised and is looked at as easily one of the best games of this gen, if not one of the best games of all time. Well, they had initially planned to do 2 DLCs, decided to pack that into one, and reviews have been absolutely stellar. As of right now, Shadow of the Erdtree is the highest rated DLC of all time, according to Metacritic. Beating out, any guesses?
Shivering Isles.
No.
Let's see. Last Hunter? For Bloodborne? Or...
It's a game we have talked about. And it's a DLC that we've talked about.
It's not Mass Effect related, or
it's not Mass Effect.
Dragon Age.
Nope.
I'm gonna feel stupid.
Fuck! Blood and Wine.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, there, of course.
So with The Witcher, Blood and Wine has kind of been the gold standard for DLCs for the last 10 years. Shadow of the Erdtree has bumped up above that as of right. It's at a 95 out of 100 on Metacritic based on 56 critic scores. So and they've said that the size of this DLC is basically equatable to a full game at this point. I do love that only like 30% or something of people can actually access the DLC based on like the Steam numbers, because you have to reach a certain point in the game to be able to go ahead and play it. Yeah, so it's
Is it
blowing.
possible for a DLC to win Game of the Year now? Is the question.
That's a very interesting question, and probably something. I mean, we'll find out as we do go ahead and get a little bit closer. But just wanted to highlight that because obviously that's insane for the reviews to be as strong as they are. Everyone that I respect within the gaming sphere has basically just universally praised it.
I found a list of everything they're adding too.
Yeah.
8 new weapon groups, 95 new weapons, 10 new shields, 39 new talismans, 14 new sorceries, 28 new incantations, 20 new spirit ashes, 25 new ashes of war, 30 new armor sets, and a bunch of consumables and craftables. And that's already on top of a loaded game, which Miyazaki says is that it's not quite there for what he wants for his, dream fantasy RPG game. So he's like, you want to make this better? It's already peak. How much more better can it get?
Well, and what's wild, he actually came out and said as well, in relation to layoffs in the industry, he said, as long as this company is my responsibility, that's not something I will let happen. So keep your crown, King.
You see that a lot in Japanese companies, specifically like Nintendo and From. Maybe not like Konami necessarily, but
yeah. So we wanted to highlight, obviously, shout out the Erdtree launches this Friday, maybe Thursday evening. Based on where you're playing. If you're a Elden Ring fan or a FromSoft fan, probably something you're going to want to check out. I think that's it from me, guys. You have anything else that you wanted to touch on before we go ahead and close out today?
No, that was it.
Okay,
we covered
something.
I mean, there's plenty more I could always talk about.
The original Turok 64 is on Nintendo Online.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice little fun. I will say that I like that they have been adding more and more to that library. They added the original Perfect Dark as well. I know Zelda Four Swords was also part of that. So, just continuing to, and I like that they do this, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, it's available today. It's always a very immediate announcement whenever they do these Nintendo Online updates. So pretty cool to see. But
did you see the Space Marine Chew stuff?
Mm-mm.
I was about to say they showed quite a bit more of it in the future game show. Some of the multiplayer, so it's going to have like a 6v6 mode, and it looks like quite some options for customizing the Space Marine too. So really looking forward to that one. Future game show had a lot to show. Like
they did.
Starship Troopers Extermination's getting a big update where, obviously it's early access. They're still making updates to the game, but like what the next change they've added is dead bodies of the arachnids will stay on the ground and they'll start piling up so that you can like recreate those scenes where there's just a pile of dead bodies that they're climbing over the wall on. So that'll make defense missions, I'm sure, much harder than they already were in that game. I really need to go back and do some more since I think they've added like 3 new classes since the last time I played.
Yeah, it's been going quite a bit. And obviously with the success of Helldivers, there's kind of a little bit of overlap there because, there's obviously a lot of similarities between the two just in terms of like the type of game it is. So but there's obviously a lot of differences too. Like obviously Starship Troopers is like officially licensed, from the film. And even Casper Van Dien has been involved with like marketing for the game, which is very cool. His voice is in the game. And like the base building aspect is obviously something that Helldivers doesn't do. And it's a very cool aspect of Starship Troopers. So, all right. Well, I think that's a perfect place for us to go ahead and close this one out. So thank you to everybody who's listening. We appreciate you guys so much, and we will be back next week. Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.